Hi, everybody. It's me and Canada Graphs here. This was not planned at all. I think Canada said he woke up to this.
I did.
All this information. So I think we want to start off by reading what he said. He was at a panel and he was asked specifically this question. It's funny how this didn't come out the day of when it was filmed, but I guess the person just didn't upload it. He says, I feel like I'm insulated in Hollywood because that's where I live. I literally live in Hollywood, like all the stereotypes that exist. So I feel like a lot of people in this room aren't aware of strike. We are aware of the strike. Amell said when asked during Q&A, I support my union. I do, and I stand with them. But I do not support striking. I don't. I think that is a reductive negotiation tactic. And I find the entire thing incredibly frustrating, he continued. And I think the thinking as it pertains to shows like the show that I'm on that premiered last night, I think it's myopic. But then he added again, I stand with my union. But how can you stand with your union if you're not supporting the strike? And he's promoting his project that he's not supposed to be right now. That's also the thing.
So, all right. My quick answer to this is he is mostly in the wrong. Now, I'm not going to say he's all in the wrong. I do believe there is room to support a project, but not believe in everything that it does. There's lots of things out there where you could be like, I believe in this thing, but there's this one thing about it I'm not a fan of. You know, it's the same, like politics is a perfect example. Look how many people are willing to sell everything else for one specific value that a candidate stands for. So I can understand that part. Like, that's why I say he's mostly wrong. As soon as he said in the article about heels, he's 100% wrong about that, because he's now breaking the rules on that. And
because he doesn't say it, but he says, and I think that as it pertains to the show that I'm on that premiered last night, like, and I think he was openly talking about heels during GalaxyCon both days.
Well, I mean, it would be hard for him not to, because people are going to ask you questions about the shows you're on, right? It's going to be very hard not to.
Well, I think one of the things is they're not allowed to, if they go to, like, say when Comic-Con happened, actors that were there, they were not allowed to answer questions about struck work. And
okay.
So with him being at GalaxyCon, he's allowed to be there, I guess.
He's allowed to answer questions like, what's your favorite vegetable? But he can't talk about the topic of the show he's on.
I think he can answer questions about Arrow because the show's over. I'm not 100% sure, because, see, I thought when the strike started that GalaxyCon was going to lose a lot of guests, because I thought that they were going to make it where you can't do anything.
Well, so did I, because I remember when that first statement came out where the list of demands came out, and I'm just like, well, there goes all the conventions. Yeah. But apparently they cut out a little niche area for that type of stuff, I guess, because, actors like money, so.
Yeah, so the main thing is he contradicts himself. I support my union, I support it, I stand with them, but I do not support striking. I don't think he understands, at least from my perspective. I'm curious to know what you think, because I think he is coming from a place of he doesn't have to worry about his money, because he literally led Arrow for 8 seasons, the crossovers as well. He's done conventions all through those years, getting all that money from signings, from pictures, because literally just for a photo with Grant and Steven at GalaxyCon on Sunday, which was sold out. Of course, I tried to do this weeks ago and it was sold out. Yeah, was like almost $200. I would have paid it if it wasn't sold out. But see, that's a lot of money for one photo. And on top of that, he's leading a show now on heels. And his wife has also been working for a number of years, being an actor.
Well, yeah, they're financially set. Fine. I mean, I say that, but like, there's lots of room for like actors to destroy their finances, but we won't get into that.
But I mean, in terms of like him, like they have 2 children, and that's fine. And they have it seemed like a good living situation. They go on constant vacations. They have money, so for him to say, "I don't support striking," well. The striking isn't to help you, Steven. It's to help the people that you maybe co-starred with that wasn't getting paid a lot like you were on the show. Yeah. And they're struggling to make ends meet. Because I'm not saying this is true, but let's say hypothetically that Emily Bitmer Kurtz, which I doubt that Felicity on Arrow was not making a lot of money, but let's just say that
at the start,
at the start she wasn't. But let's just say that she was not making nearly as much as he was, which she probably wasn't.
Right.
But what if she was struggling financially to hit a certain threshold to live comfortably being an actor, or was she struggling, or was some of the other co-stars? Because I mean, literally, who played, I forget his name, who played Richard Dragon, he called him out on Twitter.
Kirk Acevedo.
Yeah, he called him out, said, "Fuck, like this fucking guy" or something. He said
Kirk is really like he's a really good guy in person. He's the type of guy that I could see him absolutely saying that to Steven Space in person if he had to.
Yeah. Well, this whole thing about promoting actors, technically Cruise was not promoting after the actor strike happened. No.
Yeah, they there's a whole gaggle of stuff that happened literally in the 24 hours before the strike happened. Like there was a red carpet event in London that was pushed up like 8 hours. So they did it in the morning instead of the evening so that they could get ahead of the strike time in the US. I can't remember what movie it was for. It might have been Oppenheimer or Barbie, one of those. But they pushed up their premiere by 8 hours so that they could have it before the strike was going to happen in the US. And like little things like that, people were cramming in interviews the day before to make sure they could meet all their engagements. So he might have talked about something and you might have seen it a day or two after, but it was done before the deadline.
Yeah, because Warner Brothers now is putting out video. Clearly, they shot for themselves as promotion, but it's with the actors of Blue Beetle. And clearly that wasn't new. That was stuff that was shot probably months ago. So you're going to see stuff like that because there's still like new interviews coming out now, but they're not new. They just haven't been released yet officially.
Exactly.
Like, not publicly available. So I don't know. And then the things you were telling me on Twitter, I was like, I see him very differently now.
See, I mean, here's the thing. Before, so I know you're not so aware of this because it seemed like I was breaking it to you, but I'm sure lots of people in the chat are aware that Steven's gotten himself into trouble with his words before during the pandemic, during the George Floyd protests. And he did a podcast back then. He was having a different guest on each week. He had a bunch of actors, some of the other people like that did different parts of the industry. He would have a different person on each week. And he was going to have Grant Gustin on. Grant called him up and was like, I don't think I can do this right now. This is not the time for us to be talking about how cool our lives are. And this was literally like, 2 days after the George Floyd protests had started.
Yeah.
Steven still did the podcast without Grant on, he explained why Grant wasn't there, even explained Grant's reason, and then went on to go on like a 8 to 10 minute tirade. I mean, it wasn't so much a tirade, but it comes across that way because of the language and wording he chooses to basically like talk about how cool police are, how he's never seen racism in his life, despite the fact he lived in Toronto, which is the largest like black population in Canada, and lives in LA now. And then he was talking about like, instead of going down and like standing in line with the protesters who were actively like standing up to the police, his worry was he didn't want his friend's restaurant up in Laurel Canyon to possibly get looted and burned down. Nowhere near the protest. So he wanted to go up there and stand in front of there with like a baseball bat to protect the building to make sure it didn't get burned down. Nowhere near the protests. That was his worry. His worry was about his friend's cool restaurant he really liked.
I think he's still streaming now, but Andy was he's been streaming for like almost 5 hours now on Valorant on Twitch. I went in there and I said I just quickly said Grant is now my favorite Arrowverse actor. I think Steven has been replaced.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, everybody. I know I've said this so many times in my my streams. People ask me like, "Oh, what's so and so like?" And when Steven's name comes up, I always tell them like, if you meet him in person, he is wonderful. with fans.
Mm.
Great person. He knows how to sell the PR side of things when it comes to a fan interaction.
Yeah.
He's not very popular with people he worked with. You know,
You've mentioned that before.
Yes.
Yeah,
he is hard to work with. He has an arrogance around him, and you see it in the little things like this. Everything's about him. He somehow managed to bring it around to his project he was talking about a different topic. You know?
Yeah.
Wonderful guy to meet in person, but you don't want to work with him. You know?
It's just strange because like it seems that David Ramsey, like, and they're really close, or at least it seemed that way when they were filming.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that was fine. Maybe it's just other co-stars, or maybe just guest stars.
I feel like even though him and David had a good relationship, David still has an idea what Stephen Amell is like. Like he's I guess mature enough to just accept Stephen's, full of himself, and he just like accepts that and lives with it. Like I've got a couple of friends I know, like I disagree with some of the things they do all the time. I'm like, you're a fucking idiot. I think you're wrong, but they're still my friend because I've known them for a long time. You hang out with them every day. You just grow that person, So it's probably that same thing where he knows Steven's an idiot, but he still hangs out with the guy every day because he's just there, right?
Yeah. I mean, that's possible. I mean, it could be to where, hey, maybe he didn't treat David that way. Maybe because he saw like, oh, he's there with him every single day, so he really couldn't. I mean, he showed his true colors or everything and revealed himself. But it was like, David's here every single day for the most part. He's in a lot of scenes with me. I need to just, maybe try to not do this, and maybe to the other people that he doesn't see all the time, he can just make it see all about himself. I don't know. I've never met the guy, so I can't say for sure. But you're saying if meeting fans, he's a completely different person than he is working.
Yeah.
So,
and there's a few actors that are that way. Steven's just, if I were to rank Steven, he'd be very high on the list of people that I say is much different when you meet him than he is when he's in a different situation, Well,
I'm curious, like, how Grant feels about him, because Grant had to literally be with him on Sunday after like the stuff he said back in 2020, and if he's,
I think since 2020, Grant, that's probably like rolled out of the back of Grant's mind by now. In the moment, sure, he's thinking about it. 3 weeks later, probably hasn't even remembered the conversation, let alone 3 years later. Yeah.
I wonder how Grant feels about him now. Because Grant was photographed with other actors, and
Grant is someone who will keep his thoughts mostly to himself. He might, if someone asks him about it, he might be like, I think the most he would probably say is like, well, Steven's entitled to his opinion. Like he wouldn't trash Steven, but in the back of his mind, he's probably like, can't fucking believe that guy. Like,
I'm wondering like how people feel about him. I mean, like not necessarily like fans or people that watch Arrow. I'm talking about fellow actors he worked with. Like we see what we see what Richard Dragon feels about him. How do these other people feel about him for basically saying, hey, if you're struggling as an actor and we work together, your striking is pointless. I don't like it. It's like, that's really shitty.
They'll at least in the back, they might never say something publicly, but in the back of their mind, they're like, I can't believe this guy. Like,
it's going to have ramifications on his career.
I think it will. I think there will be some projects he does not get solely because of this.
I mean, literally right now, he's trending on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. He's trending, and everyone and it's crazy because I thought, okay, it's gonna be one of those things that Twitter picks up, but it's not gonna be a major thing. Variety's reporting on it. It's like, okay, the major trades are covering his words. And the thing is,
of course, because so I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm gonna point out a little thing about Variety and those other places. It's directly related to the strike, and they're very heavy on the strike right now for their coverage.
Of course, yeah.
So
this is not good for him that major trades are covering his comments from a con. He probably thought this was never going to get out there, or if it did, it was always going to make an impact.
I think a large portion of it is, as I've said now a couple of times, he's really revolves in his own little bubble around his own little world about him. And he probably didn't think like, well, I don't think it's a problem. No one else is going to. Like,
Yeah, or because he thought the whole room that most people didn't know what the strikes were about or what was going on. I don't know if they'll kick him out of the union. I mean, I don't know. Because they're definitely going to look at this as
I don't think they would kick him out of the union for this, but I would definitely expect he's probably got a phone call from them by now.
Probably. And the thing is, regardless of what, because I'm assuming he's going to have some sort of response at some point responding to this. But there's nothing he can say to turn this around, I don't think. Because, I mean, he's already spoke his thoughts on the strikes being pointless, essentially. So he can't turn around and say he's in support of the strikes because it's a lie.
Right.
Because he openly revealed how he truly feels about it's just a waste and it's counterintuitive. Like, I don't know. I feel like he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He can't win this. He's already dug himself in the grave, I guess, if you will. Scott's super chat here saying Superman and Lois might be canceled because of strike. I think a lot of shows potentially, if the strikes keep continuing, that they could.
I think there's definitely some shows that are in danger of that. At the moment, I don't think Superman and Lois is in that realm yet, but nothing's impossible. I think most productions, most studios had a loose outline of what's probably coming up, and they probably, I mean, the timing of when they announced Superman and Lois is getting a season 4, they knew a strike's around the corner. They were already in the middle of the writer's strike. They know it's coming. So they would have known nothing's getting filmed on schedule of the time they would. I think the only time that they would start considering something like that would be if these strikes are still going on in the winter.
The hope is that not because of the studio heads apparently getting together on Friday with a call about trying to figure out what the next steps are to get them back to the table, to get SAG and the WGA back to the table for negotiations. But
yeah,
I don't know. Now this was said on Twitter by him, and he's saying it. I don't think it's mainly about him. I think everyone's just on edge because of the strike and everything that's happening. I don't know what point exactly he's trying to make about saying this not about Steven, but I think it is like everyone on edge. It's not like the actor strike started yesterday. The actor strike has been going on for a couple of weeks. The writer strike's been going on for a couple of months. He had plenty of time because he knew going to these conventions after the strike for the actor strike happened, he knew at some point it's going to be addressed. If he honestly feels the way he said, because he openly admitted how he feels about the strike, there's an approach he should have made instead of what he did.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Steven don't talk, but he had to know because every single panel that Stephen Amell does is filmed. And it's put out there on YouTube. Now, a lot of it doesn't get attention, but people can go readily watch it. Yeah. Well, someone filmed this specific part and released this specific part of him answering, and there's no way this was not going to get some sort of attention from people that at least follow Stephen. And it's now spread like wildfire. And he had plenty of time to know ahead of time, I'm going to be asked this question at a certain point at a convention, and it's going to get filmed. He had to have known that because they're always all filmed by fans. He should have answered as simply as saying, I stand with my union, and then hopefully it gets resolved soon. It's a simple answer. If he doesn't agree with it, that's fine, but he just kept going on and on and on. And then, what, like Canada said, he reverted it back to himself about, well, my show that premiered, the night before and all this stuff. It's like, okay.
A thing I find really weird about Stephen Amell, and I cannot figure out what. So, again, people that have been to my streams a bit already know this, but I've had my own interaction with Stephen in the past where him and I had a very serious conversation about a few topics. I found him in that conversation to be well thought out. He would take long pauses and think about what he was going to say next and had his next train of thought ready to go when he would talk. I don't see this same Stephen when he's at a panel or that podcast he did. He's just blurting stuff out, and I don't understand what goes on with him when he's away from a set.
I'm also wondering too, like, I think he did more than one panel or some sort of thing. I'm not even 100% sure, but like the thing is, at these panels, he gets asked the same questions all the time.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
And
80% of what he gets asked is he's just got a cookie cutter response ready to go.
Or he's already been asked this general question, or if it's something Arrow related, he's been asked it before. So I'm just surprised that there was no like running through the filter. Is this going to work? Because the whole thing is the union, like the writers and actors are combining and working together with these strikes against the studios. Like this is a very, very minority opinion about what's happening with your union. And the thing is, you're out now earning money at a convention, and you're making probably a good amount of money at this convention with all the signings and the photographs you're taking, and then the photographs with Grant and all that. And it's like, and then you're saying all this stuff about the people that literally can't make enough money to get health care. It's, you know, just not good. And the thing, and Marky says the same thing here. He's even promoting a show on Instagram, and that's breaking, and that's, you know, promoting struck work. That's a problem too. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. This guy's always, you know, been the biggest risk to his own career.
Yeah, because I wonder, like,
because I even remember. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I remember back when the George Floyd issue happened. A couple of people at that time even pointed out to something else he had said in the past. I don't remember what the topic was about, but even like a couple of years before that, he'd got himself into hot water saying something on Twitter, and like he just every 2 or 3 years just can't help but have a hot take that like is not going to hit, you know.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, too, I think this one, like other comments he's made before that you've pointed out, is definitely controversial with a lot of people. But this is now hitting his livelihood because he's saying, I don't support what you guys are doing. When literally the whole point is to go out there and picket, strike. And he's, as far as I know, he's not done any of that. So, and it makes sense now why he hasn't. I don't know. Oh my God, it kind of reminds me of Gina Carano. Well, sure.
There's some loose overlap. Yeah, I mean, it's just people having shit takes and saying them publicly. Like, he's got to, you know, he has to have a manager and a PR team, and they must at some point, like, you know, say to him, like, hey, dude, like, here's some topics you can't talk about. You know, even if you have an opinion on it, you gotta stay away from this.
Pretty much.
I don't know, man.
It's ridiculous. Thank you, Scott. Again, will Ahsoka and Marvels be delayed? Well, Ahsoka will not. Ahsoka is still coming out. And the Marvels, it depends on how long the strike goes. If the strike keeps happening and they can't promote it, they'll have to delay. I mean, they're already Sony delayed stuff already. So
yeah, I would be. I mean, it's not impossible, but I would probably assume Marvel's would hit its premiere date just because they're gonna want to fill those spots. There's gonna want stuff still going out, making them money, and unless they're gonna shuffle in something to go ahead of it, that they're like, we can lose less money off of this than this project or something like that. I don't see them shuffling the deck too heavily. You can shuffle the deck on things like 9 months out, but isn't Marvel's in like October or November? November? I don't think you can be pushing things back that are coming out that soon.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but I don't think they will.
Does this strike affect Canadian actors? I'm assuming no, because the union is United States, or is it Canada based as well? I'm not sure.
It affects actors who have worked on American projects because you can be from anywhere in the world and still be in SAG. Mm-hmm. SAG isn't exclusive to the U.S. It's just a U.S. Based company around U.S. productions. So if you're a Canadian actor and you are working on Arrow films in Canada, but it's an American project. So you are by default working on a SAG project. Now, there are lots of Canadian actors that aren't in SAG that could still work, but it's not a lot. Like in Vancouver right now, I don't think we have a single TV show working, and we only have maybe 3 or 4 movies.
Mhm.
We are getting very close to the end of running out of things that are working. Give me a second. I'm just going to check real quick and see how many productions are in fact working. Wait, what the hell? That's not what. Production list. You can talk for a minute. I'm just going to look down the list and see what I find.
Well, I mean, to your point about actors, so House of the Dragon, the HBO show for season 2, they're still shooting as far as I know, because
Yeah.
a lot of their actors are not in SAG,
Right.
so don't have to worry about it. Mercenary says maybe Stephen Amell did it as a publicity stunt. No, this was a horrible way to do a publicity stunt.
No, I don't think that would have been the case. Yeah.
No. Say what I understood is that he doesn't support it. He supports his union. He just thinks striking is not the way. But there's no other way to get what they want. Like you can't ask the studios politely to give them more money, to support the writers better, support the actors who are underpaid. Like there's no other way you can get it. So his idea of like striking, what other way is Steven wanting the unions to do in order to get a better deal? Did he want SAG-AFTRA and the WGA? Did he want the actors and writers to just accept whatever deal, including AI inclusion?
He wants them to accept whatever is going to work best for Stephen Amell.
Yeah, because he's a leading guy. He's a leading guy. He gets more money. It's not going to affect him. You know, I don't know.
So yeah, our list is down to like 2 movies, a TV movie, and 2 TV shows. And the 2 TV shows, as far as I know, are both Canadian projects. Something called Wild Cards, which I've never heard of, and When Calls the Heart. Those are the only 2 things filming in TV right now. And then we have a couple of movies.
When Calls the Heart.
Yeah, it's on like season 11. It's a Canadian show.
Oh my God! I see it now.
We do have one major feature that is filming here right now.
Yeah.
But no actors are working. They're only doing all the non-actor based stuff right now, because they did a driving scene a few days ago, and they're doing a new Tron movie that's got Jared Leto in it.
Oh.
So they're doing all the stuff that they can do that doesn't pertain to actors. So that might be the case with a couple of these other films that are filming.
That's strange. They're shooting a Tron movie without the actors.
Yeah, they'll get all the work done now that they can get done out of the way, and then when they can do the rest, right? Because I mean, everybody else can technically still work, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
stunt drivers can work, you know.
Yeah, because it was announced that there are actually actors in the union who are currently working because they're
on independent projects. Yeah.
Yeah, A24 that's really made a name for themselves. They're not a part of the struck studios. Yeah. So Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega, of course, from Wednesday, they're allowed to do their unicorn whatever movie they're doing at A24. It's like some weird shit. But I guess that's also the beauty of this, is that actors are saying, hey, if we want to work, we can. It's just not with major studios. And, you know. Yeah.
I mean, that there is a real threat for the likes of Disney and Warner Brothers and stuff like that right now, that if this strike does drag out several months, like let's take the most improbable assumption that somehow in the winter we're still on strike.
Yeah.
This is going to be a foot in the door for these smaller companies to now make themselves contenders with those bigger companies. Like, let's say right now, Disney, Warner Brothers, companies like that, let's say they have like 97% of the market share.
Yeah.
They're suddenly going to be down to like 75% of the market share if they don't have new product to put out while these guys are pumping out their movies, you know?
Yeah, because I think there's like a thing where there's some major actors talking about, hey, we should start working for smaller companies or start, you know, working on projects that we normally wouldn't do because we actually want to support smaller studios. And the thing is, too, with big name stars in smaller projects, they're going to get wider releases in theaters because those stars are going to help push the films, and that's going to hurt the major studios that are like they're not wanting to budge, or at least they're not willing to negotiate on certain things, because the major thing now is AI and residuals. If they can't figure that out, it's going to take forever. Regardless of, let's try to get back in the negotiation table with both actors and writers. If they can't figure those two major points, then we might as well not do it. You know, I don't know what's going to happen in Hollywood. I feel like it might shift. It might.
But it's going to shift. It's going to shift a few different. Like, there's going to be a lot of moving pieces, even once a deal is done, that are going to change things. I really do expect there to be a cutback in the amount of stuff that gets made, because studios are going to look at this and they're going to be like, well, okay, we have to pay everybody 20% more across the board. We now don't have the budget to do these 8 other projects, you know?
Yeah.
And they're also going to cherry pick which ones to devote their time to. I also think, not right away, but I bet you in 4 to 6 years, half of these streaming services that exist right now are dead, because they're not going to want to be like funding these things that really don't make them a lot of money when they now have to start paying out residuals on them.
Yeah, because right now, most new streaming services like Peacock, Disney Plus, they're not making a profit. They're
losing money. They're losing
in the billions.
Yeah.
Thanks, Scott, for the super chat. Would you say Melissa Benoist worked harder than Grant and Steven in the later years? Also, do you think Ahsoka went on a cliffhanger? Cliffhanger potentially for Ahsoka. In terms of the Melissa thing, I don't know, because it's hard to say who worked harder. I mean, who had more time off, I guess, is the better question.
If we're going off who had more time off, then yes, Melissa worked harder than both of them. But I also think she only did season 6, whereas they did season 8 and 9. They were further into the point where they're allowed to negotiate more time. Oh, and don't forget, Melissa took part of season 4 off to go do a play, and then took part of a season off to be pregnant. So I mean, she took big gaps too, you know. But at the end of,
right?
What's that?
It was the final season that she was pregnant and was missing out.
Was it? I think you're right.
I think it was, because I think she had to come back and shoot like scenes when she finally was able to, in order to fill in the gaps. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, actually, it was. Yeah.
When everything becomes $14 for every streaming service, no, rather not pay. Well, a lot of streaming services are that price or higher already.
And they're only going to get higher after this.
Yeah. Max is up there at 15 or 16.
Here's the reality. Whenever there is a shift in the price of something for a creator, they're not taking the hit. They're going to pass that on to everyone else to take the hit.
Yeah.
We are going to be the ones paying more to accommodate them still getting their share. They're not going to want to cut down from getting 90% profit to 50% profit. They're still going to want to try and hit that 90% goal, and they're going to try and get it out of us to do that.
Yeah, because Disney Plus started off at $5.99, $6 when it first launched, and now it's
because they want you on the product, and then they want you to rely on wanting to stay around, right? Like, it's the same as when you first launch a brand of soda or a meal or something like that. They're always cheap right off the bat because they want you to get familiar with their brand, and then they start charging you full price, you know? So yeah,
I was gonna see here. So pricing,
I'll be honest, I personally want to go back to the days where everything's on one streaming service. Just everybody sell your content to Netflix. I personally, at least, would happily pay like $40, $50 a month for one service. I don't have to go bouncing around between 4 different services. If Netflix wants to charge me $50 a month and they have everybody's content, I'll go there. Fine. But I'm not paying 7 different people $10 to $25.
Because right now Disney Plus is $10.99 a month for a standard with a monthly premium, as they call it. Netflix is $15.49 or premium for $20. Of course, you have like Peacock and stuff like that for like $12 not ads. Apple TV Plus $14 plus, or I guess it's it's $7, but you know there's a free trial. I mean, Fubo. There's so many stuff you can get. Amazon Video. It's like the list is endless. And yeah, I mean, because you're right. Because back when because I jumped on Netflix way late into the game, but when I did, there was so much more variety of stuff because there wasn't a lot of streaming services. It was like Netflix and Hulu, and I think HBO Now, which was just HBO's streaming version of their service. If you didn't want to pay for the cable version, but yeah, and it's like now it's like, oh, if you want everything, you got to pay probably more than cable now to get everything without ads.
Yeah, and you have to remember where everything is. You like, wait, what's Game of Thrones on again? Like when it was Netflix just showed you everything. It was just all there. Every station, everything was in one spot.
And now
I am never going to be the person to buy a individual portion of the entertainment thing. I'm not going to pay $15 to get 8% of the content that exists.
Yeah, that's the
if
thing.
You guys put it all on one platform, deal with Netflix. Just Netflix system was also better. Like I hear all the people all the time complain about the way Disney and HBO Max's like display is set up. They're always like, you can't find anything on there. Just go back to goddamn Netflix, barter a deal with them. Then there's only one place it has to barter with the SAG for royalties.
Yeah,
you cut out 60% of this chaos, and you'll make people more happy. They will pay Netflix. Netflix will be happy. They'll buy the content from you. But every streaming service thinks that they can do it better. Every streaming service thinks they can make a little bit more. They would rather nickel and dime to make an extra $1 million than an easy less than $1 million. Like it's just their business model's always been damaged since before I was born, but it continually is behind the times.
Here's an idea. Just throwing this out there as a potential idea. What if there was a service, right? And so you cancel all the other services that you have, and you go to this one particular service, and what it will do is you go on there and under one payment, instead of versus paying all different places and you don't know it's all the prices and everything, and it says, okay, here is the base price. You want Netflix, you want Amazon Prime, you want Max, you want Disney Plus. You pay all for 4 of those for a certain price, and it raises up depending on what you get, and it gives you that set price. And you just go to that one service, and you can scroll through, and you can just, instead of jumping around,
kind of like when you're picking out a cable package.
Essentially, yeah. So if you pull up those 4 services, then, okay, you're scrolling through, and it gives you like favorite or drama shows, and it'll have a little logo of in for Netflix, and then right next to Netflix is an HBO show, like a Max show, and then next that's an Amazon show. So instead of jumping around all the services, you can just stay right there. I feel like that'd be better, but I don't know. So I guess you just jumped in here. What strike comments did Stephen Amell make? He doesn't support the strike. He supports his union, but he doesn't support how the union's going to get better deals for everybody else. I that's the one question that should have been followed up from whoever this. I think it was a woman who was interviewing him for the.
She probably didn't expect an answer that like was going to make so much ripple, right? Like she was just like, oh, hey, cool, Steven's acknowledging me, Yeah.
She should have said, following up. Okay, so Stephen, how are your people in the union that you're a part of is supposed to get a better fair deal for the work they do? Yeah, I think that would have been that. Well, I think that would have actually been like not just from her, but anybody else that was at the panel that had a question. They should have followed up with that, because that would have been an amazing chance to get a reply on how does he think they go around getting a deal. Yeah, because you can't ask nicely.
Yeah, you can't. They've been trying. That's why you are now on strike. Strike is not the thing you go to first. Strike is the thing you go to when you have talked to the other side 1,000 times, and they're like, nah, we'd rather not. And you're just wondering, like, but you haven't budged an inch. And they're like, we don't feel we need to. That's
Yeah.
when you finally have to go on strike.
Yeah.
Does anybody like strikes? No.
It's
No
also
one does.
It's also funny. He in his statement he says, "I feel like a lot of people in this room don't understand what's happening with the strike." Stephen, do you not know what's going on? Because literally, it was put out there, the contract they were trying to get signed with the other side, and half of it, the studios had no response, no counter offer. It's like
you're at a panel, Stephen, with a bunch of people that took the time out of their day to go listen to celebrities talk, and you don't think they've heard about the strike?
Yeah, because I was under the assumption that this strike happening meant that a lot of actors would not be available; they were not allowed to go. Because
the first day when it came out, all the guidelines came out. Mm-hmm. There was going to be a convention in Montreal that day or the next day. And I was like, well, I guess they're all fucking canceling. Yeah. And then the next day I saw photos from the convention. I'm like, that's interesting. I'm confused. How are they there? And then like there was more details came out and they're like, well, they can go, but they can't do this, but they can go and can't do that. I'm like, all right.
Yeah. So it's like they can go. It's just they can't promote current work, but then he did. So he's also breaking that thing. And as far as I know, Grant has nothing on the horizon he can promote. And I haven't heard anything. But the fact is that people are like, yeah, Stephen was open. He openly talked about in his statement, the show he was on that premiered, that's promoting it because he had a show that premiered. Everyone knows he's talking about Hills, but it's like, it's just a really weird situation. Victor has a question for you, Canada. How does TV or cable work in Canada? I don't know what he means by that specifically, but how does it work? Like anywhere else?
Mostly the same as the U.S. Model, except we just have different main stations. Like, we still get, if you have cable in Canada, you still get NBC, ABC, CBS, all that stuff, even the CW somehow. But we have our own like main stations. Like up here, we have CBC, CTV. I think there's one more that I'm forgetting, but we have like 3 primary stations up in Canada. So we get all the American stations as well. There used to be a time where you wouldn't get everything, but it's 2023 now. In 2006, I could not get the USA Network in Canada in 2006. I would have to go online and find an unofficial place to watch that. But in 2023, everything's on a Canadian cable now. I can't tell you what the pricing structure is like because I haven't had cable in like 15 years, but we have everything now. But yeah, there was a time. There was a show that filmed here. This is why I know about the USA Network one. There's a show filmed here called Psych. It was on season 6 and had never aired in Canada. Films in Vancouver.
That's weird. Yeah, did they make a movie? I think they made a movie.
Made 2 movies.
I think it's unfair because now everyone is hitting on Arrow again. Well, he brought that up on himself. People were done talking about Arrow, then he had to bring this up. Because all people are saying, well, he's not the Green Arrow wouldn't say that. Oliver Queen wouldn't say that. Like, well, you don't know what a fictional character from DC Comics would say about a strike. Like, I don't know. That's a weird.
That's the thing is because the fictional characters' viewpoint would be through some writer.
Yes.
The writers right now aren't writing for some reason.
And if they were, the writers would have Oliver support the writer's strike.
Right.
He's in a no-win situation there. What question should have been followed up? Well, like we were saying, what should SAG and the WGA do if striking is not the answer?
Yeah. Perfectly worded way to do that is, okay, Stephen, if you think striking isn't the way to do it, what do you do?
Yeah.
And
I bet he has no answer because, like you said, he's not going to be affected when they sign a deal. He's a lead from Arrow. He's getting residuals from that. He's on Hills now that's currently airing. And then, I don't know. After these comments, I don't know if he's going to get a job soon, a new job. So it might affect him. And it's not because of the strike ending, it's because
of his comments.
And who's going to want to work who's going to want to work with him right now.
Now that being said, studio execs might want to work with him.
Yeah, that's the thing. But other actors may not.
Yeah, there might be actors like if you're hiring for a project, we're doing the Chainsaw Reacts movie. Ooh. And the studios are like, okay, Stephen Amell, we really like you because we know you're a company guy. We're gonna get you on board. And then the next day they go to I don't know, Tom Hardy, and they're like, Tom Hardy, we want you to be on this project. And Tom Hardy's like, well, who else do you have on it? And they're like, well, we got Stephen Amell, and he's like, I'll pass. Like, that's gonna happen once in a while.
Yeah, there's gonna be people that don't want to work with them for
right.
this. Is Blue Beetle still premiere? I think you're asking, is it still gonna happen? Yes, they've already technically had international premieres. They just will not have the actors there.
Yeah.
The strike is getting in the way of Steven's work. As a result, he isn't getting any money. That's why he doesn't support. No, that's not. No. I get your point. The strike is getting in the way of everybody's work. Okay, it's not. This is not Steven, as Candace said. That's pretty much how he feels. It's all about Steven. The thing is that if this was true about getting in the way of Steven's work or getting in the way of the actors, a lot more actors would be against the strike because it's affecting their work.
Okay, I'm reading his comment now. I think I kind of get what he's saying. He's saying is it more like this is why Steven is against the strike. It's because it's in the way of his everything.
Well, well, in his mentality, yes. I guess you could say that's what it is. I don't know. Why did I make a live show about this? Well, because it's a pretty hot topic. We have 62 viewers in here right now. We've been peaking at around 70. I think this is. I mean, not to I mean, I can shit on it because it's my fucking show. Endless Multiverse hasn't gotten these kind of views in months. So
maybe it's Andy. Maybe you need to get rid of Andy.
Oh, don't say that. Oh my God, don't fucking say that. No, it's not. I just don't think. I think a lot of the topics we cover are days old. Because see,
who's this Andy Beckback guy that just unfollowed me?
Oh my God, he actually did. No, I just feel like it's a hot topic, and people are probably looking up on YouTube right now Stephen Amell strike, and
you should have Stephen Amell in the title, but you don't.
Oh, I thought I did.
No, it says we need to talk about this. ...
Oh, let me change that.
You do have Stephen Amell in the byline and the description, but not in the title.
Talk about. Let me change it. Stephen Amell's strike comments. Why do I have that in the title? Well, I mean,
so I wonder if we will see a follow-up comment from him now.
We will.
Like, will his reps reach out to him and be like, dude, you have to say something to walk this back as much as you can. You're not gonna put it back in the bottle, but you need to at least get some of it back in the bottle. Because, he would have got a call tonight. Like, as soon as that broke, he would have got a call from a SAG rep, for sure.
You would think.
They would have called up his manager and be like, we need to talk to Steven. Did you see these comments? His manager would be like, here's his number. Leave me out of this.
Yeah, I don't want to be a part of this.
Yeah. Let me know when it's safe to talk to him again.
It's now changed. The title is now changed. What's the latest on the actors' writer strikes? Well, besides Steven's comment, that's the most recent thing, is that the studio executives want to come back to the table in negotiations with both of them, but they have to understand they're not going to get this AI thing they want really bad. They're not going to the residual things. That's never going to go away. So they have to figure that out.
I think there is room for the studios to get what I would call a not loss on some of this stuff, but they're going to lose big on the AI thing. In the end, they will cave to the AI. But I think the residuals, I think they can, if they were to right now walk into the room tomorrow and be like, we'll give you everything you want on the AI situation. As far as residuals, we'd like to meet you a third of the way. Then they'd come back and be like, how about 2/3 of the way? And then they meet in a half.
Yeah.
I think they could get away with that.
it's gonna be a lot of back and forth. I think the AI thing is probably the biggest thing that they.
The AI is definitely the biggest thing, and that is the one the studios are really dragging their feet on because they know that's a money saver for them.
And the studios just are putting out job things for AI.
Yeah, Netflix or something. Didn't Netflix just say they were willing to pay some AI creator $800,000 a year or some ridiculous number like that?
Netflix 900,000, Disney I think around 300,000, Sony 160,000, Amazon somewhere up there. But yeah, they're willing to pay a lot. Am I disappointed in Stephen Amell? Yes, I am greatly disappointed in Stephen Amell's comments because honestly, this is one of those times because what Canada's been saying. Stephen has made a lot of controversial statements in the past. This is the one time he could literally been on the right side of things, but instead he decided to do what he did.
He, like I said, he also he baffles me because, like I said, the time when I had a conversation with him, this was back in season 4, very well thought out. Took his time thinking about what he was saying. Where is this guy now? Like. every time he's away from the film set, all of a sudden he just speaks off the cuff with no thought. I don't understand him.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand. We'll hear from her real soon. Either soon or never. Well, I mean, I don't know. I don't know there's nothing Steven can say to fix this.
There is something he could say. It won't get him out of trouble. And it'd get him in a little bit of different trouble, but it would get him sort of out of this trouble. Most people that have ever spent any time around Steven know he's prone to having a drink or two. He could maybe just say, "Hey, I drank too much that day, and I wasn't thinking. I apologize for my comments. I was not in a right state of mind. I apologize. Maybe I was on medication. Whatever."
I mean,
it won't get him out of all the trouble, but it would, for some people, be like, "Oh, I've had that happen."
He could use that excuse. I don't know if he will, though. I mean,
he won't.
that would look bad on him, though.
That's what I said. It would get him in different trouble. It just would focus away from the original trouble a bit.
So he's Oliver in Arrow season 1, episode 2. What Oliver we see in that? I don't know.
Yeah, I can't access that information at this moment.
I was being a hill, you guys.
Oh my god! All a ruse to market his show. Oh my! Who said that again? PW. Yeah. Steven, if you're watching, hire PW. He might get you out of this.
Oh yeah, this also too. He yelled at his wife and got kicked off a plane, and he explained that in the.
That happened too. Yeah, that was definitely probably because of his drinking.
So I mean, I love tequila. So. Okay, I love tequila. Yeah, because I think that was when he was at the party.
All right, yeah.
And
the resurrection of him party or whatever it was.
Yeah, and across the street he went and attacked that guy.
No, that was a pilot episode. That wasn't episode 2.
Was it? Oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah,
because Laurel was there and he had to go talk to her and on the outside. I remember that. Yeah, Disney. Oh, yeah. So the AI thing, Disney 180,000, Netflix 900,000, Amazon 300, Sony 160. The studios are willing to pay. They're willing to pay this much for AI jobs. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be a thing.
Is because AI can do multiple jobs.
Yeah. So that's the thing. How are they going to? Be able to make a deal when they have these AI jobs in place? I don't know. How come you didn't make a live stream about Ezra's actions? Well, because Ezra kept doing something new every single day.
Yeah, you would basically have to be on 24/7.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to.
You would have to just rebrand it the Ezra channel.
Yeah, so the thing is too, I'm not a fan of Ezra Miller like I am a fan of Stephen Amell. I've been supporting Stephen Amell for a long time. Canada Graphs here offered to send me a autographed, like a signature, like an autographed picture of somebody, and I asked for Stephen's autograph, and I still have it. That's how important. I'm like, okay, if you're willing to give me this, thank you. I want this. I could have said anything else, but he offered that. And so it's like, I've been supporting this guy for a long time. So to see all this unfolding,
I mean, you did originally ask for Donna Smoke, and I'm like, I burned all of those.
I did. I did. The whole rescue incident? What rescue incident?
Yeah, I don't know about this either. I saw it in the comments, and I don't know. Can you elaborate a little more, Cody?
Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about, Cody. I'm confused, Cody. It's now midnight where I am. It's now August 1st. Oh, my God. I don't want to work tomorrow.
I was supposed to do some work today, but I've had a shoulder injury for like over a month, and it doesn't bother me every day. It just like all of a sudden out of the blue will bug me. And I was putting things together because I had to go to the post office, and I was putting things together, putting it, in a box and all that stuff. And I picked up the box, and all of a sudden my shoulder's like, don't do that. So I laid down to like wait for it to go away, and woke up 9 hours later. missed the post office.
There you go. If Grant did support the union, that'd be crazy. But see, Grant was out there actually on the picket line striking. So, yeah. If Stephen Amell were to play a character in the Gunn universe, he wouldn't be playing anybody probably. And he probably won't be playing anybody in the new DCU. That ship has sailed before all this, probably.
I mean, I've said this so many times, and I know I get a lot of flack from people, but CW actors are not in high demand.
No.
Doesn't matter if you did 9 years on a show or 8 years on a show. I think Grant Gustin's still capable of getting work. But he is the rare exception to the rule. Out of that entire cast, Grant Gustin's the only one I think that still gets, at some point, a lead series role. Danielle? No offense. Candace? No. Who else was there? Tom? No. Jesse has his own show, but he's also producing it. So, I think he's one of the few exceptions to the rule. Look at the Arrowcast. Who on the Arrowcast has done anything
since then?
Steven. And again, I think he's producing that, isn't he?
Well, I don't know. Well, I don't know. Is he producing?
And it's on. I don't even know the name of the network it's on.
Stars, which is a
it is a network. Like it's not like
stupid me. I typed in heels, I did not type heels show. I put heels, and it pulled up women's heels shoes.
Of course it did.
Okay, so he's not an executive producer.
Oh, okay.
The thing is, okay, so this was it premiered in 2021, Heels, but I'm trying to think, when did they start? When was it? Oh, development was in 2017. Let's see. Okay, so before Arrow ended, August 19th, 2019 was when Steven was cast.
Right.
So Steven was still on Arrow when Steven was cast for.
So he struck while the iron was still hot.
Yes. So that's what happened there. I know Melissa Benoist is currently on a show. She's going to be some sort of.
Melissa Benoist did the smart thing. She went and started her own company so that she can just pick and choose when she needs to and wants to work on what.
Yeah, and she's totally eating it.
She's one of the few smart ones that like looked at it and she's like, I'm probably never going to get a lead again if I don't like make action. And she's like, if I have my own company, I can pick and choose the projects. She's not producer on this one.
Yeah.
But she is her influence as a producer probably gave her the in to get that because it's also a WB related project. And she's got a contract with WB for her production company. So, she probably looked at this and she was like, oh, this is a very interesting project. I want to do it. Oh, what did Cody say? Sorry,
Last year, I forgot this. Last year, he tried to get Animal Rescue shut down because he didn't like the noise. That is
Oh my
true.
God, did he? Serious? Oh my God, I forgot about that.
Yeah. So apparently, it was like an Animal Rescue.
This guy just
an Animal Rescue next to his house. He was complaining about the noise.
I do vaguely. I don't fully remember it, but I remember it because I've got a friend who's like a big like animal advocate type. He DM'd me about it. I remember that, and I was like, "Why? This guy just can't not be in trouble." Like,
so Daniel Panabaker and Katie Cassidy did a good amount of relatively big projects before Arrow. Well, Daniel Panabaker wasn't on Arrow; she was on Flash. But I get your point. But the thing is,
yeah, but that was before.
Yeah, we're talking.
They're now in their 30s. You know,
Yeah.
No offense, but they were on the CW for like the last 8 years. They're kind of out of the limelight.
And a lot of the times too, they were pretty much stuck only doing one, like the show, because like Grant tried hard for many years to try to do other projects during the summer, and then when they kept pushing, if they had to push like a shooting date, he couldn't. He had to drop out because he couldn't do it. So unfortunately, when you sign on as a main for a lot of these shows, you're pretty much stuck only doing that.
Yeah, it is. I mean, best case scenario, you get maybe 2.5 months off in the off season. When it was 23 episode seasons, you get like 2.5 months off in the off season. A regular movie, like I'm not talking like big Marvel $400 million movies. I'm talking like your regular movie takes about a month and a half to shoot. That leaves you no time for actual like time off.
Yeah.
And that's assuming it fits your schedule, that it starts in between the 2.5 month break you have, you know? So,
it is just crazy. Yeah. I'm looking up.
Like when Grant finally got that one movie, that dog movie, filmed in Vancouver, you know? Like he picked a project that he was already going to be there for.
My God.
And that's the same like when Steven did that Code 8 project.
Yeah.
Him and Robbie were in Vancouver at the same time, and they were sorting out the details while he was still doing Arrow, so that as soon as it was done, he could get back to Toronto to start filming it. So, you know, I think they even might have did like some of the you know, when they like photograph for like character stuff, and like I think they did that in Vancouver because he was still here at the time, right? So
yeah, and their Code 8 Part 2 is coming out at some point.
Yeah.
So, am I still a fan of Stephen Amell? Yeah, I look. It's hard to completely separate myself from all the years I've been enjoying Arrow, but the thing is that his comments have made me like, and even more stuff like remembering, oh yeah, the whole dog shelter thing and other comments he's made before. It makes me look at him very differently. It's going to be hard for me to separate the art from the artist, but I will still love this show Arrow, and at some point I will rewatch the show. I'm probably going to push that off even further now because I'm going to get further away from
You got to wait until he's gone a month without a controversy.
Yeah. So Jake saw him yesterday. Now, Jake, I would have went before all this, obviously, but I was gonna if the Grant and Steven photographs was available, I would have went.
Yeah,
but it was gone. I'm just getting here. So yeah, I mean, he supports his union, but he's against the strike. It's not a good look for him.
Yeah, like I said at the start of this, for those of you that just got here, you can support something and still disagree with something in that thing, but this is one of those instances where, I mean, you're basically saying, like, I support this thing only if it's going to interest me or do value for me. Because the purpose of the strike is to get everybody a fair deal. And Steven's comments kind of ring of, like, this isn't fair for me.
Yeah, because
why should I be inconvenienced because everyone else isn't doing well?
Yeah,
you know?
Because the thing is, it doesn't matter what kind of deal they get, whether it's a shitty deal, because he's like, well, they don't need a strike. It's not going to help. it's not going to affect him now because he's leading a show right now. But maybe he would feel different if he didn't get heels and Arrow ended and he wasn't getting hardly any work. Maybe he would feel very different about this. But I think your point is valid. Steven has this mindset of that, hey, I'm not personally being affected by what was happening with those deals, because the last deal that we were under, I was doing just fine.
Yeah. I have this nice house. I've got, all this money.
I can try to sue and shut down a dog shelter next door. I can do what I want.
Like I said, I mean, this sounds so much like the same Steven that made those comments during the pandemic. Because, like I said, his thoughts weren't about going down and standing on the front line with everyone, going up against the police. His thoughts was, I don't want my friend's restaurant to get burned down because I like that place. Mm-hmm. It was about what Steven would be inconvenienced by,
So I've been hearing about this too, saying he really wants to pursue a career in wrestling. That would just be him basically.
Isn't he already in his 40s?
Or he's about to be.
Stephen Amell age.
Yeah, how old is he? I don't even know.
Oops. I thought I opened up my tab and I did not. Let's try that again. I'm typing away into 42.
Yeah, so if he was to do that, he would obviously be past his prime. And two, it would just be seen as him trying to get away and basically not face the ramifications of his comments. Because the big question is going to be now, after the strikes lift, what will his career be moving forward? Since he did not.
Thing is, he would sell well in wrestling because, the Arrow persona, a lot of like wrestling fans would draw to that like type of vigilante like person. And let's be honest, wrestling fans as a whole aren't going to be nearly as concerned about your political views.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He is someone I think would sell in wrestling.
I mean, he definitely did back when he was in WWE.
But he was also a star of Arrow at the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I was beginning. The point I was getting to, at the time when he was popular doing that, he was also on Arrow, and the fact is they were doing Cody Rhodes. Of course, Cody Rhodes went over and did Arrow at one point, so it all worked out. I actually got a photo with those two yesterday. Well, you're lucky. I tried, and they were both sold out both times they were doing the shoot. Because I found
I had my photo with both of them too, but separately.
Oh, yeah. I trust me. I would have paid for it. I would have paid if they were available. Because my wife looked it up and they were both sold out. And she's like, "Well, you could go and get maybe Grant, because Grant hasn't done a lot of conventions." I'm like, yeah, he doesn't do a lot of conventions, but like the option is there to do both. And obviously, I don't want to go just for one, knowing I could have got both. So it is what it is.
Yeah, but there'll probably be another chance down the line somewhere, and by then the price might even come down.
And if Steven can stay out of fucking trouble and actually, be a good boy, maybe I'll do a double photo. But if Grant is nearby doing like a con and he's doing photos, I will do that.
I think Grant is probably possible again. So it's interesting. I talked with Grant not long. No, this was actually before the pandemic. Before the pandemic, I remember talking with Grant about conventions, and he said it wasn't his thing. He didn't enjoy it. He had done one or two at that time. He said he wasn't a fan of the experience. Now that he's not working, he's tried, a few more, and he seems to still be doing them. So I guess he's over whatever it was he didn't like before. So I think he's going to be a semi-regular to the circuit. You're probably going to see him somewhere on the East Coast again sometime soon.
Yeah.
Like you're in one of the Carolinas, right? I would be shocked, absolutely shocked, that if in the next calendar year he is not in a state that tags your state, like is touching your state. I'd be shocked.
So this just happened. Let me share my screen here. We have a little comment from somebody. Here we go. So, Mr. Reverse flash here. Still waiting on that comprehensive list of totally non-reductive negotiation tactics we've got to employ now. Thank God for superheroes. Any second now. This is a direct response to Steven. Oh my God.
Oh, Matt.
This is bad. He has fellow Arrowverse actors turning against him.
Well, of course he does.
I mean, like this makes it even worse because these are people he's worked with. This is bad. Holy shit.
Thing is, Steven doesn't care if it's bad because Steven only really thinks about Steven. Hold on, I'm just watching something here for a second. Give me a moment. Yeah, okay, it's exactly what I thought it was going to. Yeah, I'm gonna DM this to you. You don't need to show it on screen, but it's pretty funny.
Yeah. So Jake, like when we checked, both times were sold out. If they added them like last minute, there's no way we could have figured that out.
I DM'd you on Twitter the link to this thing.
Oh God, I'm worried. I saw that video.
Okay.
But that's still hilarious.
Yeah, for those of you in chat, no idea what I'm talking about. There was a video someone sent me. Basically, it's tagged something like Stephen Amell if he didn't get his job on Arrow, and it's just a guy working at a fast food place.
That's fucking funny. Well, because it came out today, Loki Season 2 trailer. And in the trailer, there's a shot of one of the actors in a McDonald's costume. I don't know why. But someone responded saying Stephen Amell after the strike is over, and then it's just a picture of the McDonald's shot worker.
Yeah.
That was funny. I'm not saying Stephen Amell's going to work at McDonald's. Maybe he's too high class for that. I don't know if I can know. I don't know if Steven and Matt specifically worked together, Jake. The point is that they worked within the Arrowverse, and Matt, and they probably have met in passing.
They probably have at some point, because Matt bounced around a few times. So he must have at some point been in one of the crossovers, I'm sure.
Doing a live stream on Ezra's actions last year makes no point now. Just makes no point. It's like if I waited till New Year's Day 2024 to get Canada on and whoever else to talk about what Stephen Amell said at GalaxyCon yesterday. That would make no sense. So talking about what Ezra Miller did, it just doesn't make any sense. Oh my God, Reverse Flash. The history books say you're a good supporter, Mr. Mel. Guess the history books are wrong. I remember he said that. No, because I didn't see the history books say you live till you're 80. I guess they were wrong.
No, I mean he's gonna have some work digging himself out of this hole. At the end of the day, unfortunately, there is the reality that we live in a society that's so fast-paced that in 4 days people forgot this comment.
That's the thing.
You know?
Yeah. It's literally probably unless his response, say hypothetically tomorrow, because I feel like he's gonna have to say something, and if his response is bad, it's gonna make it worse. But I mean, there's something he can say. I don't know.
I liked whoever that was earlier in the chat there that's had that reply. That was a good one. He could be like, "Oh, that was just a gimmick for my show. I was being a heel."
That'd be really bad though. Because someone said, "Is this like a publicity stunt?" No, that'd be a bad publicity stunt. That'd be terrible.
Yeah.
I mean, Trev, we've been saying all the stream why we're disappointed in Steven's comments. But Canada also makes the point too. I mean, it's a valid thing. Steve, and I said this on Twitter too. Steven's allowed to have his opinion, but the thing is, once you throw your opinion out there, if people criticize it or have an issue with it, they're allowed to respond. There was somebody on Twitter trying to say that my response should, I shouldn't, I guess, go after him or something, because I guess because I opened up with he should have kept his mouth shut, and then I said, I'm speaking my opinion. He gave his opinion. I can give mine. And then he said, well, you're trying to shut him down. Like, no, he can do whatever he wants. He's He's a human. He can say whatever he wants. And
you didn't say that he has to keep his mouth shut. Yeah. You said he should have kept his mouth shut.
And then the guy responded back saying with the quote of what I started saying in my first tweet, he should have kept his mouth shut. I'm like, yeah, but I'm not saying he should listen to me, and he shouldn't listen to me. He should say whatever the fuck he wants, but I can
actually he probably in this case should have listened to you.
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, Steven can say whatever the fuck he wants. I can say whatever the fuck I want in response to it. And then if Steven wants to respond to me, then he can. There's nothing saying he can't. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Jake. I meant X. I'm sorry. Not Twitter. I'm sorry.
No, I don't think there was any comments made on a porn site. No.
I don't think so. Yeah. Stephen Amell went over there and made some comments.
Yeah.
Mercenary, just a prank, bro. That's a terrible prank. terrible fucking prank.
I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it would be less stupid than his current state. At least if he said that, people would be like, "Yeah, it was a terrible prank," but I guess.
I wonder if his wife is just looking at him, going, "You fucking idiot!" Like, why'd you say?
I don't know. I really don't know where his wife would stand on this.
I don't fucking know. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter. It's like here's the thing. Steven cannot watch. Steven's gonna do one or two things. He's gonna respond, or he's gonna post something and act like it didn't happen. That's gonna make it worse.
Last time when the George Floyd thing happened, I don't remember what happened during the dog one, but during the George Floyd one, I remember he went radio silent for like a week or a week and a half. Oh, actually, no, he went silent. He kept quiet until his next podcast the next week, then talked about it on the podcast. But his social media presence was like invisible for like a week.
Yeah.
So I could see him doing something like that again, just waiting for it to wash out of the system a bit and then be like, ho, look at this. I was at a baseball game yesterday. Like some stupid post.
He did that like 5 days ago on Instagram or something, or Twitter, or X.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, Jake, here's the thing. He can stay out of trouble technically, and it will blow over because we know how fast social media works. But the problem is, this is not a thing to where social media is responding. This is going to affect fellow actors.
The people he works with.
Yeah, that's the problem. It's not going to blow over because the thing is, the strike, like they're paying, like the people behind the strikes, they're paying attention to everything, and they see a fellow union actor who has not went out on the picket signs, who's not going out and striking. He's at a convention making money, and he's commenting this. It's gonna stay with him.
I want all of you to imagine this situation. Imagine you're a working actor. You're not a star of anything. You're not even second lead. You're a guy that gets 3 episodes a season on a show. Maybe you do a couple of independent movies here and there just to keep the lights on at your house. You see Stephen Amell make these comments. You know the union is currently fighting to try and get you better work down the road. 3 years down the line, you've now made it. You're now the lead of a show. And they're thinking of hiring someone for a role. Are you gonna support them hiring the guy that tried to stop you from getting a better working condition? You're gonna speak up and be like, get that guy out of the office. Yeah. Stephen Amell has burned a lot of bridges he doesn't even know exist yet.
The problem is, like, there's it's not like a thing to where he can fix it, because it wasn't, because people were saying, oh, it was taken out of context. No, the video is readily available. He says, yeah, I support my unions, but he doesn't support how they're going about things, but there's no other way to do it. And he doesn't offer a way to do anything different, which would make no sense even if he did, because there's no, how are you supposed to get studios to agree to a fair deal and for better pay? It doesn't affect him. That's the thing. It doesn't affect him. If Stephen Amell was in a different position, where Stephen Amell, say it, instead of being like a couple years after Arrow and Heels was on, that's where he is now. But let's say Arrow ended 10 years ago. He doesn't have a lead in a show. He's been barely making it by. He would feel very different about this. But he's in a place now where he can, literally, he doesn't have to work anymore. He can just go to conventions and ride Arrow and just earn a bunch of money with signings and pictures and all this shit. And he could go live on social media and people send him money via gifts on social media. He can go live on TikTok and his people send him gifts and he can make money. He doesn't have to work again. But if things were different and he was in a different situation, he was barely making enough money to get healthcare or not per year as an actor, he would probably be out there striking. But he's making money at conventions. And this comes from
There was an actress a couple of weeks ago who made a post. I can't remember who it is now, but she is enough of a name that if you just saw her name in the credits, you'd be like, oh, I remember her from something. Like she's not someone that's done like 2 jobs. She's a working actress, someone that you see in at least one project a year somewhere on your screen. She made that comment of something like, oh, you've seen me in this project this year. You saw me in that project last year. You're thinking I've made it big. And she's like, but I'm still not eligible for medical with SAG, even though you've seen me in like 3 major projects in the last year, because she hasn't earned that threshold yet.
Because she's not she's not a series regular. She's not recurring. She's a guest star or something. Yeah.
She's a guest star that gets 2 or 3 roles here, 1 or 2 episodes there. Over the course of a year, it's not enough to get to the threshold eligible for those medical benefits.
Yeah, and that's the major thing. Medical benefits is the biggest thing that they want to try to help actors who are trying to, to be a part of this industry. Because if they can't get that figured out, they're going to lose a lot of day actors that are trying to make a living and they have to go do something else.
I mean, because companies like, I don't know if they all do, but I know a couple of the bigger ones like Walmart, UPS, stuff like that. A couple of them give you medical benefits. And,
right away.
Yeah. And I mean, if at the end of the day, you're an actor and you're like, do I go work for UPS or Walmart and make about the same as I might make acting, but I also get medical benefits there? Which job are you going to take if you're worried about security? Now, if you're one of those like fly by the seat of your pants on a whim people who, you hear all those stories of people that just are like, I packed up everything and moved to Hollywood on a whim. Sure, maybe you're not thinking about the medical benefits, but that person at home that's got a kid they're worrying about, they're going to take the secure job over the I'd like to be doing this instead job. And you're going to be draining your talent pool if you can't get them the same basic benefits that you can get at Walmart.
It's really sad. And yeah, stranger, Canada responded to this saying, "Never forget how dumb I am." And you said, "Noted." I remember you're like, "Noted." Peace out, Marcus. Yeah, I think we're gonna call it in a few minutes. It's past almost 12:30 here, and I think we pretty much covered everything, at least for right now. Until
his next amazing comment.
Yes, I think I don't know. I know there's a convention happening soon, but I don't know. I have a stinking suspicion we'll hear something tomorrow. He'll say something tomorrow about it. I mean, then again, I think you're also right too. He goes radio silent. I also wouldn't be surprised because, as we know how fast social media is, they go to something quick. So
by tomorrow, someone else will have said something stupid, and that'll be the new thing.
Yeah, or in general, like where a celebrity passes, like the actor for Pee Wee Herman who passed away today, that got a lot of social media attention. So
who passed away?
The actor who plays Pee Wee Herman.
Paul Rubens, really?
He passed away. Yeah. I think he was battling cancer for 6 years. That was not public. And he announced.
Oh, wow.
Shit. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, things happen all the time on social media. I mean, so.
Yeah, perfect example. I didn't even know about this, and that happened earlier today.
Yeah.
It's already washed out of the news system, at least in my feed.
Yeah, Penguin's dad in Gotham. Yeah, he played Penguin's father.
Mm-hmm.
And he was Penguin's father in Batman Returns in that opening scene. Yeah, I mean, Jake, it's like at the end of the day, like I still love the show Arrow, and like if I got the opportunity to meet Steven, I would, but I think right now I don't know if he would want to meet me because he might like find out that I said some things, but it's like I gotta be honest, I'd love to meet the guy, but not right now.
Here's the thing I can tell you about that from firsthand experience.
Yeah.
He might, in the back of his head, be like, I disagree with you and I think you're an asshole for saying that. but he'll be nice to you in person because
Yeah.
I've had that experience. We literally had a conversation where he was arguing with me and he never took it, at least to my face personally, you know?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. I mean, I still think back on the fact that he tweeted me back in 2018 saying I was hilarious, but that was back when I was reacting and he wasn't giving opinions that are, I think, pretty shitty.
yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know what the fuck's gonna happen. I don't know. Of course, we all heard about what happened with Amber Turd and Jack Sparrow. I like how Amber Turd and Jack Sparrow, like, they're not actual people, like they're characters. Anyways, all right, guys. Well, thank you guys for being here and hanging out, and thank you, Candagraphs, for showing up. He stopped by. He was going to live stream about this.
Yeah,
too, I guess.
I was actually going to do the same thing, and then I saw Chainsaw's tweet, and I'm like, let's not split the base.
Well, I'm glad you came and hung out, and
yeah, no worries.
We'll see what happens. We'll see. Maybe Steven will say something. Maybe he'll go radio silent. Who the fuck knows? Anyways, everyone have a great rest of your night, great rest of your week, and make sure you guys go follow Candagraphs on social media. Candagraphs, of course, everywhere. And he's waving everybody. Bye, everybody.
Couldn't get my shoulder out of the shot.
Bye, everybody.